Caliber, bullet weight, powder type, ammunition. It's a debate that is full of passion and opinions. So why is it we care about what we feed our firearms, but not what we feed ourselves? Well, today we're going to discuss a topic that for some reason nobody's talking about, and we should, because at the end of the day, the fuel that we put in our own bodies is going to reflect how we perform on the range, in life, and in the field. So with that, let's get into combat nutrition. At the end of the day, the best kit, guns, and gear doesn't mean anything if you're not performing at your best. So in this video, we're going to be discussing fitness, nutrition, and rest, and how those all work together to ensure that we can perform at our peak ability when we ask ourselves. And as I like to say, when I ask my body to do something, I want to be able to do it. The motivation by making this video is very, very simple. I have seen what feels like hundreds of people and videos give advice saying that ramen noodles and an energy bar is enough to get you through a bug out situation or an operation. And I'm here to tell you that you are dearly mistaken if you believe that's the case. While in the field or on an operation, we have to be at 110%, and that includes both our bodies and our minds. And again, you are not going to achieve that if your diet consists of ramen noodles, energy bars, and McDonald's. So with that, let's get into some basic things that we first have to understand about nutrition and how all these things work so we can correctly fuel our bodies and know what to take into the field to ensure that we're performing at an optimum level. Now again, I've got to say this is not health advice when it comes to supplements, health and nutrition. Do your research, do what's best for you, and of course, talk to a physician. One thing I will add before we get into this is from personal experience. I've always lived a very fit lifestyle, and I take my health and fitness very, very seriously. I'm in my late 20s, and I'm already starting to see the effects of the people around me, similar age, that aren't doing that. So if you're young and you eat like crap, you smoke, you vape, whatever it might be, you might think, oh, I'm in shape, I don't need to listen to this. The truth is, I highly recommend that you do, because when you're young, you can implement the lifestyle habits now. It's a lot easier to stay in shape and just keep doing what you're doing or build upon always living a healthy, fit lifestyle than it is to try to make a sudden change. So with that, let's get into it. So let's talk about nutrient density and empty calories. So this is something that a lot of bodybuilders until recently were doing. They thought that just because you were getting calories in, you were meeting your body's needs. And that could be further from the truth. Just because you eat 4 donuts of 500 calories each doesn't mean you've consumed 2,000 calories. So that's what we call an empty calorie. How do we know the difference? Well, when we look at nutrient density, it is the amount of nutrient per calorie. For example, a steak is one of the best things we can have because it's very nutrient rich with vitamins and minerals per calorie. A donut, on the other hand, or cereal, or other sugary, terrible food, you guys already know what they are. Let's start off by talking about vitamins. So vitamins are crucial for energy production. So what they do is they take our macros, our fats, our carbohydrates, and our proteins, and those vitamins are used to then turn those into energy. So they are crucial for energy production. Now, we can get a lot of our vitamins from food, but we can supplement them as well. Now, when we're in the field, it's essential that we get all these vitamins because they all work together as a team. So when we're in the field, we want all those vitamins so we can properly convert that nutrient-dense food into usable energy. So types of vitamins, we've got water-soluble, and those come out in our urine if our body doesn't use them. We use these on a daily basis. Examples of this are your C and B vitamins. So these we need to be consuming in our required amounts daily. The second type is fat-soluble vitamins. These our body will store, and if we have too much of them, they can actually become toxins. So we want to supplement them, ensure we're getting them, but we don't want to overdose them. After vitamins are going to be our minerals. So our minerals are crucial for our brain function, our bone and immune support, and many other tasks. Our minerals, think your heavy metals, it's your irons, your zincs, your chromiums, your calciums. Again, we can supplement these and our body will be using them on a daily basis to perform these crucial repair tasks. So let's talk about the three main things our foods are made up of. Those are going to be carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Starting with carbohydrates. So a carbohydrate, really simply, I want you to think of a plank of wood. We are going to build a house. Well, when we get that wood, we have to chop up that wood. A carbohydrate is essentially a stored chain of glucose being sugar, but our bodies have to process it. So we take that plank in, and then we have to chop it up over time in order for it to be used. Well, when we eat a carbohydrate, our body has to break down that compound into glucose chains, and that is sugar. So when we need energy over a long period of time, we are going to focus our eating of carbohydrates, again, non-processed, long-chain carbohydrates. This is things like whole grain is a term that's used a lot. And that means that because the grain isn't ground down, those chains of carbohydrates, or those planks, are going to be a lot longer, so it takes our bodies longer to break them down. So things like peanut butter, one of my favorite ones, those heavy carbohydrates that will take a long time for that sugar and energy to be released. Great when you're doing rucks, hikes, or long operations. So a carbohydrate might be the plank of wood, but what's a protein? Well, a protein, I want you to think of as kind of the nails that put everything together. A protein is made up of what we call amino acids. So the reason why we use it for muscle growth is because it's got all that nutrients that we need, and our bodies can convert and use that protein to store in our own bodies. Proteins don't inherently give us energy, but they do give us the things that we need to become stronger and build muscle. The keys about proteins are we use them for muscle growth so we can become more physically strong, but they're not necessarily good to have a lot of when we're in the field. The reason is those branched chain amino acids use a ton of water, a ton of minerals, and a ton of vitamins. So if you eat a lot of protein, beef jerky is the popular one, you're actually going to end up using more energy. So now that we understand our food, let's talk about the next crucial thing, which is hydration. Hydration is crucially important for our muscle performance, transfer of vitamins and minerals, and even our eyesight. Hydration is often overlooked, and something that I like to tell everyone is, if you've got to choose, honestly, hydration over ammunition. I often see that guys will just have a Camelback. Guys, that is not enough. You need actual physical canteens of water. Again, we're aiming for 1.5 to 2 gallons a day. So even if you're carrying half of that, you've still got to go out and find and replenish that water source at least twice. So I always recommend carrying at least a gallon of water on your equipment. So how can we assist hydration? Well, we can do this through the use of electrolytes. An electrolyte, think of it like this, is essentially a mineral. So if the water contains minerals, it contains electrolytes. Now there are more favorable electrolytes over others, but something that I personally like to do is use electrolyte packets, and I'll add those approximately an hour before an operation, or I'll sip on them as I'm sweating. The point of this is to help me retain water and also ensure that those vitamins and minerals are actually going into my system and being used. Again, replenishing those vitamins and minerals that our body is naturally going to be using. When it comes to hydration, we want to make sure that we're also pre-hydrating. What this means is a day or two before, we are drinking over a gallon a day, again, in that operational range of 1.5 to 2 gallons before an operation. What this means is that our body's going to be nice and hydrated, so we're going to have more of a threshold of essentially sweat and water in our body, so we're going to remain more operational. Again, the more hydrated we are, the clearer we can think, the better we can see. So it's really important that we get a surplus of water in our body before we step out onto doing something. Because if you're not hydrated and you start chugging water, well, your water is just going to be flushed out because it's not containing electrolytes to retain it, and your body is using it to cool your body, and it's not thinking, okay, I'm in resting mode, let's build a surplus into our mind, our brain, and other parts of our body. It's just going to be using that for cooling in the forms of sweat. so that you're either going to be sweating it out or pissing it out. So that's why it's so important that we pre-hydrate before we do anything. Let's talk about adrenaline. So there's this idea that you are going to rise to the occasion and that adrenaline is going to be your savior, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that we fall to our lowest level of training. And again, if you live a sedentary, cushy lifestyle, your body is going to revert to that, especially in a stressful situation. Also, adrenaline wears off, and adrenaline also causes a massive level of fatigue. And if we don't have those minerals, those vitamins, and the right fuel for our body to physically and mentally recover from that crash cycle, then adrenaline is going to do nothing but beat the absolute shit out of you. So ensuring that we have proper nutrition, we're learning how to deal with heart rate and adrenaline is, again, it's going to make you think clearer, make better decisions, and prolong your longevity of operational effectiveness in the field. Next to adrenaline, we have fatigue. So there are two types of fatigue: central, which is our brain and our nervous system, and local, which is our muscle. Lifting weights in the gym, we often experience local fatigue, but we don't experience central. Central is when we get those adrenaline rushes, and the key to fixing both is vitamins and minerals, hydration for our central, for our brain, our nervous system, but also mental toughness training, like we discussed, how to deal, with denying yourself water and getting yourself used to physical exertion, but also the use of glycogen. So our body's way of recovering quickly is going to be in glycogen stores. Again, glycogen is a carbohydrate, so having what we call a short chain carbohydrate is going to be key to restoring that muscle. Think of it as you're lifting a weight, you're exhausted the muscle. How quick can my muscle get back to getting in the fight? With creatine, this is where creatine comes in. Creatine is a store of water, and our muscles use what's called a phosphate creatine to activate themselves. So by having a surplus of creatine before we do something, our muscles can grab that and we can recover quicker. So that, in conjunction with a short chain carbohydrate, can up our local recovery time and fight that fatigue. Now, we're going to talk about the downsides of a creatine. It's a very well-studied supplement, but essentially the downside is it uses a shit ton of water, and it retains water molecules, but not in a good way. It can make your muscles look more puffy, and it's actually banned in the military because it can lead to a more serious or better likelihood of dehydration and fatigue and collapse. So we don't tend to use creatines leading up to an operation or in an operational environment, because we're going to have to consume more water and it's going to make us a liability for our team. All right, this one's going to piss some of you off. Let's talk about caffeine. So caffeine was done in a military study, and it actually improves skills such as problem solving and marksmanship, but in no more than 200 milligrams a day. So what that means is you want to get it from pure sources like pure ground black coffee, black and green teas. Do not use harsh energy drinks. The reason for this is, well, first of all, a lot of them can put you at risk of heart attacks and cardiovascular injuries. They expand the capillaries in our hearts and our blood system, and it can cause serious health effects, especially when drank often. There are more healthy options out there, and usually these are green tea based caffeines. They don't have any additives. Your big brand names, your Red Bulls, your Bangs are absolutely terrible for you. Stay away from them. Do not rely on caffeine, because again, in the field, when we experience those crashes, all we're doing is putting ourselves at a compromise. The key is to remain at a constant, not have fluctuations, because there's going to come a time where you're in a low and something's going to happen. So use caffeine when it's applicable. Using it at night to stay up late isn't actually a good idea, because this is going to mess up our sleep cycles. It's good to get it in the morning, or if you know you're going to go do something, you can get some caffeine in. Again, don't use that toxic stuff, because that toxic stuff is just going to put your heart at risk, and last thing you want to become is a casualty for your teammates. And again, guys, we're going for longevity, especially if you're young, and so don't put yourself at risk. All right, so how do we fuel ourselves before an operation and during? Well, before an operation, that's when we want to get, again, physically training. We're using our proteins and our carbs. And then before we go out, 1 or 2 days before, we're drinking 1.5 to 2 gallons of water to get that in. We're using our vitamin and mineral supplementation, and we're eating a very carb, fat, heavy diet, and because we want that reserve of energy. Okay, so once we're in the field, we're then going to be resorting to our salts, minerals, and our carbohydrates in short chains. That can be some forms of sugars, so things like trail mix and protein bars are a really good form of this because it's got a mix of everything that you need. But again, that's not what the building blocks and the foundation. Those snacks are not your main rations. Those are things to, again, supplement those main meals that we're going to have in our actual ration packs. So in hot weather environments, we want to make sure that we are drinking a ton of water and, again, using those electrolytes to ensure that our body is actually retaining that water. Prehydration is actually absolutely crucial, and we need to do what's called forced drinking. So literally make sure that you are forcing yourself to drink water literally constantly, because if you're not sweating in a hot environment, it could mean that your body doesn't have any more water to spare. On the contrary, we have a cold weather environment. So in a cold weather environment, we want to make sure that we're consuming 30 to 40% more calories. These are going to be in the forms of our fats and our carbohydrates. During the cold, we might not feel the need to drink, but your normal drinking routine of 1.5 to 2 gallons a day still applies, even though you might not feel thirsty. What is my day-to-day advice? What's something that I personally do day-to-day? Well, when people start this journey, the first thing I recommend is don't go crazy. It's going to be tempting to make the rapid change, but whenever it comes to making a lifestyle change, whatever that is, especially with something that is hard and breaking a habit, and food is pleasurable at the end of the day. So it's going to be really hard to break those habits. So how do we do it? Well, what I recommend is do it very, very slowly. Only change 1 or 2 things a month, and then aim for a long-term change over time, rather than changing everything at once and then defaulting back at the end of the week. So what are some things that I personally do? First one is I only drink water, tea, and then my healthy energy drink occasionally. That's it. I don't drink alcohol. I don't consume any other sugary drinks. I don't do any other bullshit. Alcohol is just sugar, and it's terrible for you. The next thing is no dairy. I don't have dairy. The only amount of dairy I have is an absolute splash in my tea at the start and the end of the day. But apart from that, I've completely cut dairy out my diet. Dairy is an absolute toxin. You're not a baby calf. This idea that it's good for your bones, look into the Got Milk campaign. It goes back to like ice cream in World War I, but it's just the government trying to sell you milk because it's got a quota to meet. It has nothing to do with your health. It contains soy, it contains other things that you don't need, and it's all it does is, well, your body actually can't process it, and it stops you from building muscle also. And honestly, I look at dairy now, it is nothing more than a poison. The other thing that I do is I just consciously watch what I eat. I don't have high sugary foods, and everything I do have, I try to have it in the most basic form. So my proteins are my steaks, my eggs, my raw fish with something like sushi or chicken. Very rarely I have pork. Turkey I have as well. And then my carbohydrates are in a very raw form. Banana, peanut butter, and then rice or occasional pasta. I don't have bread. Processed bread, especially in America with the white flours, is actually very bad for you. So I try to stay away from those as well. An average morning diet for me, my morning routine essentially is I wake up, drink about 3 cups of water, have about half a protein shake, have my morning vitamins. I then have 4 eggs and about 3 or 4 slices of steak with a banana and a tablespoon of peanut butter and a cup of tea. Lunch, I'll usually do tuna fish and celery with some more peanut butter protein shake in between. And then dinner, I'm looking at something like a chicken or a 100% grass-fed ground beef option, stuff like that. So that's essentially my daily routine of how I break things down. I just try to get it to that most raw level. The more processed you get, the worse it is for you. In America, the supermarkets are designed such that the aisles, if this box is a supermarket, the aisles are all the crap, and I do what's called a perimeter shop, because all the healthy, unprocessed stuff is always on the perimeter of the supermarket. Dairy's part of that. Literally ignore dairy. Don't touch it again, guys. You'll thank me later. It also kills testosterone if you're a man. So your girlfriends will thank me later. So yeah, do a perimeter shop. Literally just go around the perimeter. Don't go down the aisles, because that's where all the crap is. All right, then, starting off, so let's talk about our vitamins and minerals. So in our modern diets, our food contains so much crap, but nothing we actually need. So no matter how you cut it, you've got to supplement with health products. There are many multivitamins on the market. There's also been many scandals behind them. So when researching what product you're going to use, make sure that it's a good, reputable company that holds itself to a high standard. My favorite is First Form. I'll put the website below. They are a very pro-American company. They hold themselves to very high standards, and I trust their products. A lot of the big names in the supplement industry are on the hanging or relying on the laurels of their past, and they no longer make good products. So First Form, I find, is the best. They're very, very expensive, but you pay for what you get So I'm a huge fan of fish oil. I don't like the omega-3. I like good old fish oil, because you're getting a lot of that natural protein in there as well. Make sure that it is filtered for mercury. Again, those heavy metals we want to be careful with. So good old, again, good brand. Fish oil is going to be expensive. If it's cheap, it's shit. So multivitamins, First Form Microfactor. I love this product because it covers all my bases. Basically what it is a packet that contains everything you need. So you've got an antioxidant. We discussed what that was. You've got a probiotic. That's healthy bacteria. Our stomachs are lined with bacteria. We need good bacteria, and oftentimes what we'll eat can end up killing it. It's got fruit and veggies, so that's everything that from our fruits and vegetables. If you don't like to eat your broccoli, you're going to need that. QOQ10, that's to do with oils, and you've got your multivitamin. So this is where your main stuff is. These are all your vitamins and minerals that we talked about. And then it's also got the EFAs. I've got to do more research into those, but it's in there, so I trust it, quite frankly. With the multivitamin, with these, what you're going to notice is the color of your urine is going to change. Guys, that is completely natural. Again, your body's going to spit out what it doesn't need. So the truth is, people will say that multivitamins are a waste of money because you'll piss half them out. There is truth to that, but your body is using them. It's just getting rid of what you don't need. So moving from that, let's get to hydration. So a big fan of actual water canteens. This is your US military one and your Australian military one. The Camelbacks I'm not a fan of because you end up drinking less because they're just awkward, they can burst, and the flow rate isn't good. Get an actual canteen and physically have it on your body, be it in your weapon or on your person on a chest rig. If the water's there, you're going to drink it. If it's not, you're not going to drink it. And hydration is crucially important, as we discussed. Another little product that First Form makes is these hydration packs. So these hydration packs are fantastic because it's got all your electrolytes, lots of little flavors. This is strawberry, citrus is my favorite, and then mango. I know some of you guys out there love your mangoes. So these are great. They're cheap. They're like $2-3 each. I put these on my chest rig in my webbing because when you need a little lift me up, the answer isn't caffeine. The answer is electrolytes. So those are fantastic. All right, so coming across, let's talk about ration packs. Lots of people like to make their own homemade ration packs. That's fine. Again, make sure you're not using bad stuff. Use your proteins, your rices, and everything like that. We've got a British one, 24-hour ration pack. The idea behind these is it's got everything for 24 hours. The American version of that, you guys all know, is an MRE, and these are simply one meal Whatever you go with, you're going to want to strip down them both. But I'm a big fan of the military rations. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they're getting harder to get. But at the end of the day, they have everything pre-made. This idea that ramen is going to do your job is just completely false. These have been formulated by very smart individuals to give you your nutritional needs. The only caveat is you can only eat them for about 28 days. You have to eat something normal, kind of flush out your system, and then you can go back on MREs. So how do I carry my rations? So I carry these two in my main pack. That is a total of 10 pounds of weight. So a huge amount of weight. But again, I don't care how much ammunition you have, you can't eat ammunition. And you can't shoot that ammunition accurately if you don't have fuel. So let's change our mindset here, guys. Let's think about water and nutrition. And really, when it comes to weight, if you're going out for 3 days and it's an extra meal or an extra couple of mags, I would take the meal. So what I do is I've got it split up into 3 things. I've got my 24 hours to 36 hours of rations in my webbing. Honestly, I could stretch it 2 days if I had to. But again, the idea here isn't to stretch this stuff. We want to almost have a plentiful access to meals. We want to look, oh, do I have bolognese or do I have chicken fajita tonight? Not, holy shit, where am I going to get my next meal? Or maybe a guy in your squad eats less, so now there's some tension, because remember, food's a huge moral factor in your squad because you don't have enough food. Or let's say that you're helping someone, because at the end of the day, we want to be good moral individuals. If you've got food, if you've got that extra food, it can really help in making a friend and an ally and helping someone. So carry extra food, guys. Let's go over the order I'll use this. So the food in my webbing is my first go-to. Again, this is not snacks, this is our nutrition. And then we've got our main meals. So in here, water filtration. These are snacks, but 2 Cliff Bars. They're 250 calories each. They've got sugar, protein, a lot of carbs and fats. So these are absolutely great. I've then got a bag for either rubbish or energy drinks, a rationless heater that can be used to heat rations, or if you have a water bottle and some, well, you can make a distraction device, we'll put it that way. All right, so chocolate dessert powder. What I've done is I've broken down many ration packs to make these, and this is a mixture of what I enjoy and also meeting my calorie requirement. So chocolate powder chocolate dessert pudding, it becomes kind of like a custard. I'm a big chocolate guy, it's a great morale booster. We then have a lemon and lime energy drink, your carbohydrates, a wheat bread snack, some proteins, tuna fish. We've got a tortilla, again, more carbohydrates. We've then got more drinks, tropical fruit flavored drink. I'm British, how can you not have some tea? Coming to the meals, again, this is to last me anywhere from 1 day to 2 days. Chicken and dumplings for a main meal. Southwest style beef and black beans. And Mexican style rice. And that's it. So right there, you've got meals enough to last me approximately 1 to 2 days, and if I want to add more, I can. Now with that in mind, I'll also have snacks to be keeping in my chest rig and my pockets as well, and then the 2 Cliff Bars. And even that, in my opinion, you know, is pushing it. For 1 day, this is easy. Usually your first day in the field, you're so hyped up on adrenaline, you don't end up eating much, but to have 3 full main meals for just 2 days is going to be an absolute godsend. Along with that, I also keep my mess tins. So in here, I've got all my drinks. So I've got dextrose tablets for that sugar. I've got a ton of those electrolyte drinks, a ton of tea, because that is just that morale booster. I've also got 4 different soups, which can be lunches or breakfasts also. So keeping food in there, this is what we call a brew kit. And having a brew kit right where you need it is just absolutely helpful, because everything's right there and you can get going. Moving on from that, coming to the main rations. So what do I keep in my main pack, and why is there 2 bags? Well, the 2 bags are split into 2 things. We have our main meals, and then essentially our supplements and our snacks. So let's start with the main meals. I like these MRE bags because they're really fucking durable, and they can be used for garbage bins as well. So this is filled to the 9s. Again, I've got this in my webbing, and then this is in my main pack. Whenever I eat, I'm always replenishing my webbing, so this is always full. In case we have contact or I need to bounce, I need to leave my main pack, I always have 2 days of operational rations with me at all times. So let's see what's on the menu. We've got beef ravioli and meat sauce, but chicken pulled buffalo style sauce, some British ration packs. These are fantastic. The Brits have really upped their rations. When I was in the cadet force, they were the silver packets, and those were all right, but the modern ones are fantastic. This one is pork sausage and beans in tomato sauce. Lovely. Next is meatballs and pasta. All day breakfast, because you've got to have your full English in the field. And then of course, chocoholic chocolate brownie. So right there, I'm carrying 3 main meals, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 minus 1, if I had to, that's a comfortable 6 days. I can do 7 if I had to. I could eat 1 a day and be, again, miserable. Not ideal, but it could be done. So this right here is 6 days of food. Not only do we have those main meals, but we've got all this. And again, guys, this is 10 pounds of food plus our 1.5, 2 day here. So in here I've got peanut butter. I've got 2 more Cliff Bars. I've got a massive brew kit. Again, this is in here. I've got tea, coffee, paper towels, matches, sugar, whitener, another heater. This guy is beef pate, great for crackers. And it's just an awesome amount of food, guys. So this is tikka masala. So we actually have, is it 8, 9 meals? Because that's tikka masala and long grain rice. And then I've got 1, 2 more energy drinks. This is a fudge brownie. You'll never guess what flavor. Another energy powder drink, because electrolytes and water retention is hugely critical. I've got biscuits for the beef patty. Biscuit reds. Biscuit browns, what's the old saying? Biscuit browns clog you up, biscuit reds flush you out. Vegetable cream soup, vegetable crackers, and white chocolate chip cookie. More snacks, nuts, more nuts, and then 1, 2, 3 hot chocolates. So that is a huge amount of food, guys. But when you're in the field, again, this is for 6 days. You can stretch it to 8 if you had to. But the idea is to be comfortable. With the fuel we put in our body, this is not only a huge morale boost, not only do I have a little bit extra to share, but you know, we look at Black Hawk Down, we look at the SAS in the Falklands or the Paras in the Falklands. You don't know how long you're going to be out there. Water procurement is relatively easy. If we're taking care of our bodies and we're fueling it beforehand, it gives us the best chance. But by having all of this, it really gives us not only good variety, but the ability to operate and eat well in the field. It's going to drive me crazy if I see one more video of some Cliff Bars and ramen as their 3-day worth of food. This is perfect. Again, if we're in the field operationally, this is what we have. If we don't know we're going to have supply, we can always supplement with local food and cooking. You know, it's a good idea to carry sometimes like a bag of rice for the platoon. But again, don't guarantee and expect that. So I think each individual should be carrying this amount of food, and again, meets all of your nutritional needs. So buy some rat packs, guys. Go out there, make them yourself. There's lots of videos on that. But get together a really good nutritional base of food, because I just have nowhere seen this amount of food and nutrition anywhere else. So guys, again, if you've have experience in the field, comment if food and nutrition was your saving grace, and give your advice. What's your favorite ration packs? What's your favorite flavors? What do you think of what I have here? How I have it packed? And there you have it. Some other things to cover. Let's talk about supplements and protein powder. So what's the point of them? We talked about our multivitamins, minerals, stuff like that. So when it comes to protein powders, essentially we have really two types. So we have two types and two subtypes. So we have our plant-based and our casein-based, our animal-based proteins, and our vegetable-based proteins. So vegetable-based proteins are mostly pea-based. They usually taste worse, but oddly enough, the quality of protein is normally purer. And then we have our animal-based proteins. So that's going to be your general stuff, and most of what you're going to see on the market. So when it comes to proteins, think of it this way, guys. I'm really trying to simplify this. So the reason that we use protein powders is because we want our body to access the protein quickly. Remember, anything that is water soluble, our body is going to digest quicker. So by having a water soluble protein chain, like in a protein shake, we drink it, our body's muscle fibers are torn, and then we're giving our body that protein immediate access to it. Something like First Form's Ignition is a short chain, quick digestible, water soluble carbohydrate. So by adding that to the protein, and proteins contain obviously BCAAs, we have the three things that we need to build muscle: carbohydrate, BCAAs, and protein. The way I like to think of that is your protein is your building blocks, your your protein is your building blocks, your carbohydrate is your concrete, and your BCAAs are your builders. You need all three of them to build a wall. So when it comes to protein shakes, we use them post-workout when our muscle fibers are torn, or we can use something like a protein before the gym, so our body has a surplus, like our creatines. When it comes to muscle recovery, we want, just like our carbohydrates, we want it to happen over time. So we have our long chain and our short chain. We want our long chain proteins, like a casein protein, I'll have before bed, because my muscles are torn, my body's going to be sleeping in recovery mode. So I want to give my body a surplus of all the building materials it needs, our carbohydrates, BCAAs, and proteins, to properly repair itself. Again, that's not for the field. That's when it comes to your personal fitness and your training. We want to make sure that our recovery rate is as quick and as efficient as it can be. So I know that can get a little bit confusing, but that's again, as basically as I can put it when it comes to why we use proteins. Sipping on a protein shake will not mean that you gain muscle magically. You have to have torn those muscle fibers. That's really the key to it, guys. So giving your body everything: carbohydrates, BCAAs, and proteins, after you've torn your muscle fibers. That is the key to it. Drinking this stuff and taking this stuff isn't going to do anything for you unless we're working and tearing that muscle fiber. So when it comes to muscle growth and recovery, that's the key to using them. You've got to time it, you've got to use them strategically. These things cost a lot of money. I want you to get the most out of your money. So to do that, we need to understand all the things that we talked about in this video and how to properly use them. Again, eating healthily, and taking a ton of protein shakes if you still do nothing on the couch isn't going to do anything for you. So that's it, guys. I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown on kind of supplementation and protein in this video also. While we're talking about supplementation, what's my opinion on enhancement and testosterone, or all of those illegal types of drugs? Guys, I don't condone it at all. I've never done anything illegal. I don't plan to do anything illegal. And quite frankly, if you're taking testosterone, especially those illegal enhancements, to make yourself look bigger, all you're doing is lying to yourself. The quality of muscle you're building isn't good, and you're actually going to become more of a liability. If you're a young man and you feel like you're low on testosterone, the advice that I gave earlier, no dairy, no alcohol, low sugar, common exercise is going to fix 90% of those problems. So don't look to drugs to fix your solutions. Oftentimes we can fix a lot of our problems with diet and nutrition and health, which again why I believe this video is so important. I'm not preaching anything new. A lot of it's really common sense, but don't look for those things to get big. I'm 100% natural. I hover right around 180. I can't seem to get any bigger, and that's because my body isn't designed to get any bigger. We're not meant to be these huge heaping masses of muscle. Something that's really common right now is young men are trying to emulate a competition style look and body, and that physique's really painful to maintain. You've got to drink no water, eat nothing for about 3 days. It's actually very dangerous to get below that 7%, 10% body fat level. So again, guys, we're looking for longevity, we're looking for health. Don't cheat yourselves. Just put in the hard work, get the good results, and do it right. Do it healthily and do it legally. Guys, I was actually very excited to make this video because it's something that no one seems to be talking about. So I'm going to do another combat ration video in a shorter format because I really think it's important that we get this information out there. For some reason, no one's talking about it, which is just an absolute killer to me. But again, let's be the community that changes that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, your subscriptions, your likes, your shares, and your comments. You guys are really making a difference, and so much more content to come. I really appreciate your time. So for closing thoughts today, whatever that goal is, try to figure out what you have to do to get there. Don't be so focused on the big goal that it seems impossible. Rather say, okay, if I want to make 6 figures a year, then look at jobs that make that and then figure out what you have to do that. It's as simple as that. I've done that my whole life, and all I've done is reverse engineer what it is I want to accomplish. So it is possible. Don't overthink it. Just reverse engineer it. Talk to your mates. Figure it out. Work together. And as always, look after each other. So guys, thank you so much again. I'll see you on the next one.